In a world of evolving scams and digital threats, knowledge is your strongest defense. Welcome to Michael's Cyber Shield. Stay informed, stay protected, stay one step ahead.
So, if you care about protecting your finances, protecting your identity, and staying one step ahead of people who want to steal from you, please subscribe right now, because this channel exists to keep people informed before these threats catch them by surprise. Now, here's the thing about credit card fraud today. Most people think it happens because someone steals their physical card or hacks a major retailer's database. But the reality is far more complicated and far more common than that. Think about this. Every single time you use your credit card, you're exposing information. Every transaction, every online purchase, every swipe at a restaurant, every tap at a gas pump. There are literally dozens of ways criminals have developed to capture that information without you ever knowing something happened. And this is where it becomes serious. Because the criminals who do this, they're not always working alone. Many of them are part of organized networks. They have sophisticated technology. They have people inside businesses, people who work at restaurants, at stores, at gas stations. They have access to your data in ways that would shock you if you understood exactly how exposed you really are. But that's not even the worst part. See, when most people think about credit card theft, they imagine someone using their card to make big purchases. $500 here, $1,000 there, something they'll notice immediately on their statement. But that's not how sophisticated thieves work anymore. That's the old method, and if they're doing that, honestly, they're amateurs. The serious criminals, the organized networks, they think smaller. They think invisible. They make charges so small that most people either don't notice them or they assume it's a legitimate charge they forgot about. $5 here, $3 there, $10 somewhere else. And they keep doing this, month after month, sometimes for years, while you're missing thousands of dollars in small increments. You might be wondering how that's even possible. How can someone charge your card without the card being in their possession? Well, let me explain how this actually works, because once you understand the methods, you'll understand how vulnerable you really are. One of the most common ways criminals get your credit card information is through something called skimming. Now, skimming is not new, but the technology behind it has evolved dramatically. A skimmer is basically a device that reads and stores the information on your credit card's magnetic stripe. It captures the data without your knowledge. Here's where criminals place these devices: at gas pumps. You pull up to pump your own gas, and there's a skimmer installed on the card reader. It's designed to look exactly like the legitimate reader. Most people have no idea it's even there. You insert your card, enter your PIN, pump your gas, and leave. And while you did that, the skimmer captured every piece of information needed to clone your card or use your information online. But gas pumps aren't the only place. They've been found at ATMs, at restaurant payment terminals where the server takes your card away to process it, at self-checkout machines at grocery stores. The device is small enough to be concealed, expensive enough that criminals consider it an investment, and effective enough that it can capture hundreds of cards before anyone even knows it exists. Think about that for a moment. You could be at your regular grocery store, using a self-checkout machine you've used 100 times, and one day there's a skimmer installed. You have no way of knowing. The device is there, your information is captured, and by the time the store discovers it, if they discover it at all, you could be one of hundreds of victims. But that's just one method, and honestly, it's becoming less common because technology is evolving. Credit card companies have pushed chip technology, which is harder to clone than the old magnetic stripe, so criminals have adapted. They've found new methods, better methods. One method that's become increasingly sophisticated is online card theft. And this doesn't necessarily mean your card number is stolen. Sometimes it's worse than that. Sometimes your entire online identity is compromised. Here's how this happens. You're online. Maybe you're shopping. Maybe you're checking a bank account. Maybe you're doing something completely innocent. And you click on a link that looks legitimate. Maybe it came in an email. Maybe it came from a text message. Maybe it was an advertisement on a website you trust. That link takes you to a fake website, and it looks real. It has the right logos. It has the right layout. It has the right colors, but it's not real. It's a copy, a very convincing copy. And when you enter your information, your credit card number, your name, your address, your security code, you're not entering it into a legitimate business. You're entering it into a criminal's database. Now, here's where this becomes invisible. These fake websites exist for a few days or a few weeks. Then they disappear. They're replaced by new ones, new fake sites, new copies. The criminal behind it gets your information, and then the website is gone. By the time you even realize something went wrong, the site you fell victim to no longer exists. And there's almost nothing authorities can do because the evidence has been erased. You might think, well, I'm careful. I don't click suspicious links. I'm aware of these scams. And maybe you are. But here's something most people don't realize. The people you trust could be compromised without you knowing it. Let me explain. Someone you know, someone you've done business with, someone whose email or phone number you have, they could be hacked. And once they're hacked, criminals can send emails or texts impersonating that person. They can send you a message that looks like it's coming from your bank, from a store you shop at, from a service you use regularly. These messages look authentic. They have the right tone. They have the right formatting. They create a sense of urgency. Your account has been compromised. Click here to verify. Or, your payment failed. Update your card information. And they look so real that even careful people fall for them. And when you click, when you enter your information, that's when your card gets stolen. Not by some hacker overseas in some dramatic cybercrime operation, but by someone impersonating a trusted source. And most people would never know it was a scam until they see unauthorized charges on their statement. But here's where it gets even more serious. Once a criminal has your credit card information, they don't always use it immediately. And they don't always use it in obvious ways. Sometimes they test it. They make a small charge, $1, maybe $5, just to see if the card is active. If the charge goes through and you don't dispute it, they know the account is active and they haven't been reported yet. Then they wait. They might wait weeks or months before they use the card again, because they've learned something important. They know that if they act too quickly, if they make multiple charges right away, you'll notice. Your bank might freeze the account. The fraud will be caught fast. But if they wait, if they space out the charges, you might not catch it for a long time. And that's the strategy with the small charges I mentioned earlier. $3 here, $5 there, $10 somewhere else. These charges are so small that most people never notice them. They either don't see them on their statement because they don't read it carefully, or they see them and assume it's something they forgot about, a subscription they signed up for, a service they used, something legitimate. Meanwhile, the criminal is getting bolder. The charges get slightly larger. Maybe they increase to $20 or $30. Then they attempt a bigger purchase. And if that goes through, they might make several big purchases before you realize what's happening. Think about how much money this could cost you over time. If they're charging $10 a week, that's over $500 a year. And you might not even realize it's happening. It's just money disappearing from your account. Small amounts, spread out, almost invisible. Now, you might think your bank will protect you, and they do have fraud protection. But here's what most people don't understand about how that protection actually works. When you dispute a charge with your bank, there's a process. It takes time, sometimes weeks, sometimes longer. During that investigation period, the money is usually frozen, so you can't access it. You're dealing with the stress of it being investigated. And you still have to prove it wasn't you. But more importantly, banks focus their fraud protection on big, obvious charges. Charges that are clearly unusual or unauthorized. They look for patterns, red flags, a $1,000 purchase in a state where you've never been, a transaction that doesn't match your spending habits. Small charges, repeated small charges spread out over time. Those often slip past fraud detection because they don't trigger the same alarms. The bank's system sees them as potentially legitimate. Low risk. Your account activity is usually fairly open to scrutiny, so these small charges might not even be flagged as suspicious. And here's the cruel irony. The better you are about monitoring your account and catching these frauds early, the more it costs you in stress and time to dispute them. The worse you are about monitoring your account, the more money you lose, but the less you know you're losing. There's another method I want to tell you about because it's becoming increasingly common, and it's particularly dangerous for people who care about their finances and their security. It's called a card not present attack, and this is exactly what it sounds like. A criminal uses your credit card information to make purchases without your card being physically present. They might order something online. They might make a phone purchase. They might arrange a wire transfer or a bank-to-bank transfer using your identity. Now, here's why this is particularly dangerous for people in situations where their finances are already tight. Maybe you're on a fixed income. Maybe your pension is your main source of money. Maybe you depend on Social Security or other benefits. A fraudulent charge could mean a bounced check. It could mean late fees. It could mean missing a payment on something important. It could mean real hardship while you're waiting for the fraud to be resolved. And the resolution process? That takes time. Your bank might credit you back eventually. But during the investigation, you don't have access to that money. You're the one suffering the consequences while the fraud is being sorted out. I want to tell you about something else that many people don't even think about when they're thinking about credit card theft. Identity theft connected to your credit card information. Once a criminal has your credit card number, your name, your address, your Social Security number if they can get it, they can do a lot more than just steal money from your card. They can open new accounts in your name, credit cards in your name, bank accounts in your name. They can take out loans in your name, and suddenly you have debt you never created, credit damage you never caused, and a nightmare to unravel. For people who have spent their whole lives building good credit, for people who have worked hard to maintain financial security, this kind of damage can be devastating. It can take years to fix. And while you're fixing it, it affects your ability to borrow money, it affects your interest rates, it affects your financial life in real, tangible ways. So you might be asking, how vulnerable am I, actually? How likely is this to happen to me? Well, here's what the data shows. According to recent reports, millions of Americans every year become victims of credit card fraud. Millions, not thousands, millions. And that number is growing. The average victim loses anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars. And here's what's important to understand. It's not just about people who are careless. It's not about people who are stupid or naive. Fraud happens to people who are careful, people who monitor their accounts, people who are security conscious, because criminals are sophisticated, they're organized, they have technology, they have people working with them, and they've thought about how to get around the systems that are supposed to protect you. The question is, what can you actually do to protect yourself? Because the truth is, there is no perfect protection. You can't eliminate all risk, but you can dramatically reduce it. You can make yourself a much less attractive target. You can be informed enough that if something does happen, you'll catch it quickly. Here's what you need to do. First, monitor your accounts regularly. And I mean actually monitor them. Don't just assume everything is fine. Look at your statements. Look at your credit card transactions. Look for anything that doesn't look right, anything you don't remember, any small charges you're not sure about. Most of your financial institutions now allow you to set up alerts. An alert when your card is used. An alert when charges exceed a certain amount. Use these tools. They exist for a reason. If you set up an alert for a $5 minimum, you'll know immediately if someone's using your card. Second, never give out your card information unless you initiated the contact and you're certain you're dealing with a legitimate business. If someone calls you and asks for your credit card number, don't give it to them, even if they say they're from your bank. Legitimate banks will never ask for your full credit card number over the phone. If someone sends you an email asking you to confirm account information, don't click the link. Go directly to the company's website using an address you know is legitimate. Don't use a link from an email. Third, be very careful about where you use your card. Try to use secure, well-lit, trustworthy locations. When you use an ATM, inspect it carefully. If something looks off or loose or unusual, don't use it. When you use a card reader at a store, look at it carefully. If it looks like it might not be original to the machine, don't use it. Fourth, consider using a virtual card number when you're shopping online. Many credit card companies offer this service. It generates a temporary card number for that specific purchase that doesn't expose your real card number. So, even if the merchant gets hacked or a criminal intercepts the number, it's useless to them. Fifth, secure your mail. Seriously, mail theft is real. Criminals steal credit card statements, bank statements, and other documents that contain personal information. If you're expecting a new credit card, watch for it. If you haven't received it within a reasonable time frame, call your bank. Someone might have stolen it. Sixth, use strong passwords on your online accounts. And I mean genuinely strong. Not just the same password you use for everything, not your birthday, not your address, something unique, something complicated. Consider using a password manager to keep track of them because you'll have passwords for your bank, your credit card company, your email, and more. Seventh, enable two-factor authentication. This adds an extra layer of protection. Even if someone has your password, they need another form of verification to access your account, usually a code sent to your phone. This makes it much harder for someone to steal your information. Now, here's something else to think about. Your children. Your grandchildren. Their information could be at risk too. Younger people sometimes have less experience with fraud, and they might be more vulnerable to scams. If you share accounts with family members, if you've stored card information with services they use, if they have access to your financial information, you might want to have a conversation with them about security. And here's one more thing that's become increasingly important: your Social Security number. I know we're talking about credit cards, but if a criminal has your Social Security number along with your credit card information, they can do damage that goes far beyond credit card fraud. They can potentially commit tax fraud in your name. They can open accounts that take years to untangle. Never carry your Social Security card with you unless you absolutely need it. Don't give out your Social Security number to anyone unless it's required and it's a business you trust. If you're ever unsure whether someone legitimately needs it, ask. You have the right to ask why they need it. I also want to tell you about a service many people don't know about: credit monitoring and credit freezes. A credit freeze prevents anyone, including you, from opening new accounts in your name without your permission. If a criminal tries to open a credit card in your name, they can't, because a freeze is in place. Now, this doesn't protect you from charges to your existing credit card, but it does protect you from a big category of identity theft. And the good news is, freezing your credit is free. It's actually your right. You can do it, and you can unfreeze it when you need to apply for credit yourself. There's also something called credit monitoring, services that watch your credit report for changes. If a new account is opened in your name, if your information appears to be compromised, they alert you. Some of these services are free. Some charge a fee. But for people who are really concerned about their financial security, they can be worth it. Now, here's the reality that you need to understand. Even if you do everything right, even if you follow every piece of advice I just gave you, there's still a chance you could become a victim of fraud. You could be at a restaurant and the waiter takes your card and clones it. You could be at a store where they've installed a skimmer and you didn't see it. You could click on one scam in a million scams and fall victim to it. And if that happens, here's what you need to know about the legal protection available to you. The federal law called the Fair Credit Billing Act protects you. If you report fraudulent charges, the credit card company has a legal obligation to investigate and is required to resolve the matter. They can't just ignore it. And they can't make you pay for fraudulent charges once you've reported them. and they've been confirmed as fraud. But here's the catch. You have to report it, and you have to report it promptly. If you wait too long, if the fraudster has weeks or months to make charges, you could lose some legal protection. So monitoring your account and catching fraud early isn't just smart, it's legally important. If you do become a victim, here's what you should do. First, contact your credit card company immediately. Tell them you believe you've been a victim of fraud. They'll cancel the card. They'll likely issue a new one. They'll start an investigation. Second, contact the other major credit card companies and your bank. Tell them what happened. Ask them to watch your accounts for suspicious activity. Third, go to identitytheft.gov. This is a government website run by the Federal Trade Commission. File a report. This creates an official record of what happened. It also gives you a recovery plan with specific steps you need to take. Fourth, consider placing a fraud alert with the credit bureaus. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the three major ones. A fraud alert tells them to be extra careful about verifying identity before opening new accounts. It makes it harder for someone to open a fraudulent account in your name. Fifth, get copies of your credit reports from all three bureaus. Make sure there are no accounts you don't recognize. Make sure there are no inquiries you don't recognize. You can get a free copy of your credit report once a year from annualcreditreport.com. All right, let me be honest with you about something. There's a reason criminals focus so much energy on credit card fraud. It works. It works because there are so many opportunities. There are so many ways to get information. There are so many people who don't realize it's happened to them. There are so many systems that don't catch it until significant damage is done. And the people most likely to suffer the most from credit card fraud are people who can least afford it. People living on fixed incomes, people on pensions, people who depend on every dollar. Because when someone commits fraud, they're not just taking money, they're taking security, they're taking peace of mind. They're creating stress and financial hardship for months while the situation is resolved. So yes, this is serious. And yes, it's something you need to pay attention to. But it's also something you can protect yourself against. You can't eliminate all risk, but you can be informed. You can be careful. You can be alert, and if something does happen, you can respond quickly because you know what to do. The people who stay secure aren't the ones who never take risks. They're the ones who understand the risks. They're the ones who take precautions. They're the ones who monitor their accounts. They're the ones who stay informed. They're the ones who know that their financial security is something they have to actively protect. And that's why I keep making these videos. Because I know how important this is. I know how it feels to worry about money, to worry about your security, to wonder if something's about to go wrong. And I know that when people have good information, when they understand the real risks, when they know what to do, they can protect themselves. If you found this helpful, if you learned something you didn't know before, if there's someone you know who should hear this information, please share this video with them. Tell them to watch it. Tell them to subscribe. Because they could be losing money right now and have absolutely no idea it's happening. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because there are so many changes happening, so many new threats, so many updates that you need to know about, and this channel exists to make sure you stay informed, to make sure you're never caught off guard, to make sure you're protected. In the coming weeks and months, there will be more updates about banking security, about new fraud methods, about ways to protect your money and your identity. You don't want to miss that information. So subscribe right now. Turn on notifications. Make sure you see every new video the moment it comes out. Because honestly, the more prepared you are, the safer you are. And you deserve to be safe. You deserve to know these things. You deserve to protect your money and your peace of mind. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay secure, and I'll see you in the next video.